Welcome to Billy Coco presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 95. This is a developer's journey to making cool stuff. I am Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Coco Heads community focused on Apple development. That primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey. Whew, all right.
Yeah,
Definitely not AI generated.
correct.
I'm beginning to add a little bit of like flair in some of this stuff, so
I think we already have the tag for this episode.
it's handcrafted.
I like when my job's easy.
Handcrafted intro.
Yeah. Unlike our code half the time, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but we are beginning to experiment with our AI assistants, overlords, or whatever you want to call them.
We have been. We've been doing that.
Yeah, we've been.
I have
dipping our toes a little bit, exploring the vibes, if you will, on a side project that we've been working on called Bento Fit. And Steve, if you don't mind, if you can give us the 10-foot elevator pitch for people who don't know what this side project's been like for the past couple of weeks.
Okay. Bento Fit, the story so far. It is a simple dashboard app for HealthKit metrics. Because while we love the health app and it's really great, it shows you a lot of stuff, it doesn't necessarily show you exactly what you want to see in the exact way you want to see it. And we were all talking. We wanted to make a health-related app. And we figured out that the three of us are kind of on three different parts of a fitness journey between Kotaro and kind of a basic walking and to keep himself healthy kind of guy. Mostly cares about step counts, right? That kind of thing. We got me in the middle with lifting weights and doing cardio and trying to track a whole bunch of heart-related metrics and weight primarily. And then we got Aaron, who is superhuman and does like these marathons and climbs mountains. And I think he can fly occasionally if he eats enough, bran. And and he wants to talk. He wants to track like workouts and all the supervillains that he kills. His adventures.
Only one of those things are true.
I got really dark there fast. He captures and sends to prison. That's what he does. As the superhero, Aaron. I know. It's going off the rails. Next time, I'm just going to have an LLM generate some mythology for Aaron, I think, and read it. But no, so we have the three different parts of the fitness journey, which means there's different kinds of metrics. And so we made this little app, which is a dashboard, but it has a really cool theme. It kind of looks like, like Tron in dark mode, sort of. And an overall aesthetic of kind of like, imagine, I don't know, like a Casio watch updated kind of vibe. Anyway, we want it to look cool. So you're interested in opening it up and looking at it, but we want it to be fast. So you're only just looking at what you need to look at and then closing it down and going back to your day. And so we are using it now on our phones and trying to get it done because it's taken a while. It's a true side project. We have like only a few hours a week, it seems.
Said that, yeah. I said weeks, but it's actually been months since we started this project. So you don't need to edit that. But I think it's kind of funny if I'm looking in retrospect so far, like as we've been going, it's like, oh, we've gotten to a point where like we can kind of taste the final product, and now it's a lot of like how do we like get it to a point of like to the finish line, really? Like there's a lot of things that, but
yeah, there's nothing. I think we're not going to go through it on this episode because we're trying to keep it tight. But
yep.
Off recording, we need to just go through the list of things that are left to do and make sure we have it figured out. Because I mean, it works, but we still have like widgets to do. We have we're going to talk maybe a little bit about monetization this week or next week.
Yeah,
we have that to do, and so we have done work. We do get stuff done. It's just not as fast as we'd like. We're all very busy. This is very realistic. We're like doing this in public, however embarrassing it may be that it takes us so long to do something. But we're not vibe coding it overnight or anything like that.
No, we're not. Yeah, we're not doing anything where we're like full on. Like, only one of us is full vibing. Not full vibing. Let me rephrase that, because full vibing is like ludicrous levels of vibing in terms of like you're just letting go and just letting the thing
go.
do whatever, letting
No,
the thing do
I don't.
whatever it's doing. But in your case, Steve, you're well. Let me step back for a bit. Like my progress for quote unquote the sprint this past 2 weeks has been to experiment with Xcode's integrated Xcode, the new beta Xcode, integrated version of Apple Intelligence / ChatGPT. Because truthfully, like when you turn on the when you're turning on the actual let me share my screen real quick. Entire screen. Hopefully nothing breaks. Yes, we're in the Matrix. So like if you go and you download the new Xcode beta, and unfortunately I blew out my iOS 26 beta
Right before we started recording.
Right before we started recording, and I'm not inclined to like try to install right before. You can see you can have access to the coding intelligence, which is kind of like the local model, I believe, the built-in intelligence, but you can integrate. It has also built-in integration with the free version of ChatGPT. I don't know if that model will now include GPT-5, but at the very least in this version, it's just a very you can. It has a typical version of like the free version, I assume. You can actually sign in and then get the better version or whatever your account's version is, and maybe that'll improve things. You can also add a local a model provider. So I assume you can add like Claude or any of the other LLMs in a more manual fashion, but that will help you. Then you can kind of go and kind of decide if you want to like you have to add files manually, as far as I can tell, the content to the project. So if I'm going to like add like the welcome screen, which spoiler alert, I was working on I was testing out an idea of like saying, well, I want to do this kind of like fancy, blur, like gradient blur background that kind of animates, in and out and like moves around in the background with like a welcome to Bento Fit and then like a start button. It all has a very like, I don't know, ethereal AI looking background, which it did okay in a sense of like generating. So this is all generated code.
Yeah, I can tell. You can't see it, but I mean, it's just like imagine AI slop code. It's just like that's what it is. It's just there. There's just numbers.
Yeah,
there's like,
so like
colors with red, green, blues. Like I don't know what it is.
Exactly. It's just like it just takes a like arbitrary like random like selection of the array of like animated circle color with random colors that with that's not that doesn't use any particular like hex function color hex values that I can recognize because I didn't tell it to because I went relatively super vibe on this thing because I just asked it a generic which is what you probably shouldn't do, but like for the most part I kept my questions very generic of like, yeah, it'd be great if you can give me a very splashy, exciting, friendly welcome view, which it did. And then I was like, okay, well, you don't need to make the text with a gray background, a gray capsule background, so you can take that off, which it did. And you can give me, and can you add some like glass effects here or there, which it didn't do very good job of. And it's not actually very good about, surprisingly, it's not particularly great about using iOS 26 features yet, which makes sense. Yeah. But still disappointing nonetheless.
You have to give it. It helps sometimes you get documentation.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Like I've done. I mean, I don't know about. I haven't tried Xcode, but I mean in other tools. And if there's documentation for something.
I forgot if I asked it or not to be like, can you make sure? I don't know if I told it to be very like explainy about the code, but it definitely decided to do it in a very doxy sort of fashion.
See, that's better than I've been getting lately from like Gemini, where it's like I'm telling it like stop putting useless comments and it'll still do it.
Or here's one for you, like it still sticks to like the dispatch main, using dispatch queue main. Like,
and
like,
that's like a very common pattern that I see from when the LLM is generating code because it's just the most common thing.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna like knock it for it.
But this is doing it to stagger an animation, like to cause that's so hacky. Maybe that's actually what you need to do, but we used to do that in the UI kit days, like literally
Yes.
that, like dispatch queue to main, and just like add a little delay for reasons.
I mean, it's using like areas of like CG float.random, and it's like you don't need to do it. Just use double is fine. Well, or like it's mixing the two, right? So like one is a CG float and the one's double, and it's like if it knows like it doesn't need to do that anymore, but yet it still does it. So they're like little weird things like that.
But this is actually a great use case for an LLM because it's not like a super important piece of code, and this case is pretty visual, and it's a lot easier just to have it generate things and go with your ideas. Like, this is a great use case. You're trying to just kind of concretize some vague ideas you have, and you want to prototype them real fast. That's what these tools, I think, are best at. That, and as I said before, refactoring things. But that's cool. But there's no way for you to show us what it looks like, is there? Unless you took screenshots because you can't run it.
Yeah, I forgot to send you guys screenshots. I'm a little like ticked off at myself about that. Let me see if I can at least if it's actually
maybe it's still installed on the simulator.
No, because I destroyed. Oh my God, it's so horrible.
What are you doing?
I know. I'm a horrible person.
So we're gonna have to look at it later.
Right, but moving past that, I also, at the very least, I integrated the new app icon file system, where now you can in the you can add it wherever, but I just added in the resource folder. A way to
nice.
Have this sort of like take advantage of the app. It's like the icon composer, and the icon composer is actually kind of an interesting app. I didn't like it at first, or I didn't understand it at first, but basically, you can. It's like a good way to preview how the app icon will work, and like if you can like adjust the glint, the little like effect on the edges. That's one of the things that you have to sort of check. And then,
but if you change the angle of the glint, and everybody else changes the angle of the glint, isn't that going to be a whole bunch of weird light sources all over your screen? Like it's going to look like.
Well, no, that's the thing. The glint is actually automatic. That comes at a system level.
This is you testing it.
Yes,
like a simulation.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes,
that's cool.
Yes, and you can get the watch version and the Mac or iOS version. And then was one thing that I didn't realize, like all these things in the inspector, this folder has, I think they call them groups. Let me just make sure. Yeah, they call them
groups.
Has a set of effects that you can turn on or off. Let me see if I can like do something obvious. Like this, like the thing that I don't like is like because my font is so thin, when I turn on specular, it's supposed to add this like specularity to your kind of like your image underneath here to add like a highlighter and also do the same effects that you're also having at the system level. But you want to like start to layer them, like so like one of these is the scan line, sort of in the back. So I have the app icon has a background that's colored to fit the the light mode. But then you can also have a way different one and the dark mode. And you can change those at an individual level without affecting light mode.
That's
so
cool.
Like they can be independent of each other. Like they're configured independently of each other. So like then you can like figure out the clear mode here. Like and then kind of like test out different backgrounds if you wanted to make sure like it'll look okay.
This feels like the app that Apple built internally, like last year when they did the home screen updates, right? When you do mono and stuff.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like that.
And the other thing that
it's really it's well done though.
Yeah, the other thing that they did provide is that how you have like if you have like an empty app or an app that doesn't have an app icon, it has a sort of like wireframe. So one of the things that they have here is this circle at the outer edge. You kind of want the core key content in that to be like in in that space. So I might want to increase the size of my my key element in the logo to like fit that space. I'm not decided yet on whether or not I want to bring back the frame. That's one that where you had like the white frame to like actually make it feel like a bento box. Until I know for sure that I can figure out the radius of the corner to fit closer to like the corner radius of the actual app.
What if we have to change the name though?
I'm not worried about that as much as weird as that's gonna sound, because Bento Fit was all like the bento metaphor was just the metaphor. I didn't really think too deeply about like whether or not that as a name that was going to be a major concern. As long as it like fit the metaphor, I was okay with it.
Yeah, but now that you have the icon implemented in Icon Composer, you can iterate more quickly on this. Like you still have to, if you're going to change the in the center of the icon, for those listening, is like a 0 and a 1. If you're going to change that size, you would do that in some other application, and then you have to re-import it into Icon Composer?
I mean, I can do that. I can do that in here.
Okay.
They're all vectors.
Inside. Yeah. Oh, no, that's the one thing that I can't do. So you have, as far as I can tell right now, at the very least, I can only do that as a PNG. Like if I bring it in as a SVG, it just doesn't work.
Is it supposed to work?
It literally clips. Yeah, it should work, but it just does not like it.
But you did change the size of that logo. That's cool.
Yeah, so you can. There is ways to scale it, but obviously, like
you just have to make sure your like base asset is high enough resolution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you scale it.
I need to make sure that it's good enough to like be visible and clear at this size. But like now, when you look at it, let me take off the wireframe. And even in this smaller size, maybe this is kind of nicer, though it's not that much. It's okay on watchOS. Like again, this is me being nitpicky, and the designer in me.
You might need to move it, or you might need to move it a little bit off center so it feels like it's more centered because of
that one being like
because of that one.
Yeah,
one
but the
direction.
nice thing
I thought you'd go the other direction, but no, that works. Yeah,
so I can like offset it. Yeah, so.
But it's the point is that this app has a lot of capabilities for you to mess around with the icon without having to go back into. What are you using? Photoshop or?
I'm actually using Sketch to handle the app icon and sort of like and the general assets for the app icon. And then I'm trying to like basically slowly migrate that over to Icon Composer. So right now I'm just sort of experimenting, which is like, this is kind of funny because this is actually the inverse of what I want. This is like a layer on top of the background when it should be like a punch out hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
cool. That's cool.
So Icon Composer is pretty interesting. It feels a lot similar to like it feels like it was done by the same team that did like Reality Composer. So it has same. That's the problem. It's like it has the same sort of like minimalist kind of like, yeah, you can get by with the bare minimums, and here's what you have here. But if you want to like do anything super complicated, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because then things will start to fall apart. So like one of the things that I was like, oh, how many layers can I add to this? How many group layers can I add to this, and how much tweaking can I do? And I'm sure like something will break eventually. But this one I'm just going to slowly iterate as we go. So it's not a high priority, but it's a good thing to have ready to go. It's kind of like a thing where you can like leave it alone as is and be fine with it. But long term, like in the long term, we can like tweak it as we go and refine it a little more easily in one file. Which basically what you do is you make sure that you save that app icon as it like, I think you save it here
in Icon Composer,
and then in Icon Composer it saves as a .icon file. If you want your project to see it, make sure to call it like app icon or something like that. It just makes it easier for you to if you need to do a fallback, like let's say for whatever reason like it doesn't work, it can fall back to this app icon in the asset folder.
Okay.
Yeah, and that kind of like kind of resolves itself if you need to resolve it that way. So yeah, more exploration going forward. Let me stop sharing real quick. There's more exploration I plan to do with the onboarding, because I think that's a nice safe area for me to like work while you guys are sort of massaging the mechanic of like the data management system. But yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Nice. Very cool. Okay. So I did, as I seem to do every week, I keep messing with the internals. But, I was looking at what we had from last time, and Aaron added some workouts, like swim workout stuff. And I was looking at it, and I was like, is this the best way to do this? Is there a simpler way? How do I make this as easy as possible for us to iterate on adding the workouts? Because we talked about this many times, like the way this works, there's kind of like 3 levels. There's the HealthKit integration level. You have to deal with HealthKit nonsense. And then there's like the observable kind of model level where we're binding to the UI and we're taking stuff from that HealthKit integration level and kind of doing the translation. And we've been iterating on this, and I was looking through the code, and I was like, well, I actually had the Gemini 2.5 Pro also look at the code, and we both agreed. And I looked at it, and we were doing like translations in different places, and it was easier than as Aaron said before we recorded. After the last update I did, it was easier to add things, but we were still doing stuff in multiple places. So I basically went into our HealthKit integration module here, and I deleted the files that were empty, we weren't using it anymore, and I basically converted it a little more obviously into like 3 kinds of sections. And I did this using Aider and Gemini 2.5 Pro primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to try to use GPT-5 because the whole point the other thing I want to do was experiment with that in Aider, but I use OpenRouter for access, and you need to bring your own key for that. And I was like, well, then what's the point? I don't want to go sign up and pay OpenAI money when I'm already paying OpenRouter. So I could use the mini models, but they weren't very good. So whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was using Gemini, and that seems to be pretty decent. We have an actor called Health Manager, which has internally the HealthKit store, the HK Health store. And this is the thing that has like these specific functions we wrote to get data, like fetch the weekly workout miles trend, and like it actually calls into HealthKit data structures, HealthKit API calls, does the data manipulation, and it returns from these functions typically like these data structures that are like tuples of more basic types like date and double and things like that. So this is all kind of the messiest code is there. And then we have the health model, which is an observable class, and that has the health manager as a dependency. And so it calls in the health manager, right? And so I wanted to make it simpler so we had like more like one place to add something like a new metric, and then everything would kind of work. And so we didn't have to keep changing things in the health model and in the health manager and also in the UI level to do all these conversions and things. So primarily it took code that was, so one thing we did is in the health model, instead of the multiple functions we had for loading things, I converted all, so we have one observed array, which we were almost there last time. We have one observed array, and I just changed the type to be our health data point type, which is this identifiable, hashable, sendable thing, which is a protocol. And so that's what we use as the base for the data type that the UI is going to use. So it stores it in there. And then there is a load method, which just loads. You go through all the metrics that we have, and I'll explain what those are in a minute. And then it just like loops through them in a task group and gets the data and like returns success or failure essentially. And the way that works is we had created this health metric enum, I think last time, which was containing a lot of stuff like the name that we wanted to display was in here, and the HK quantity type identifier thing. Like there's a bunch of stuff you need to know about a health metric. Some of the stuff you kind of need to know to do the queries at the HealthKit level, and some of the stuff you need to know in the UI level. So it kind of sits in between everything. And so what I did is I just moved a little bit more into this giant enum and made a function called fetch data point. And because it turns out when you look at this, a lot of our metrics are basically the same thing, right? They just have to call different things at the HealthKit level, but they're basically the same types of stuff in the end, like step counts, active calories, weekly run miles, and some other ones are all quantities, and they're single health data values up at the UI level. Something like the current weight is maybe done. That's converted a little bit differently because it uses like this thing called weight recordings. We create this type called that. So basically, converting between the HealthKit level data types and the data types that we need for the model, I just put that into this enum. And this is actually a technique that I've used before. I think a lot of people have used this technique if it doesn't appear obvious to you. If you make like an API client, this is a very common technique where you have like the path, the route for like an API, and you'll have an enum. And like each case in enum is like one of the things on your REST API, on the endpoints REST API or something. And you'll have like functions on there or properties on there that switch over self to give you, the different things for each route. So you can contain everything in one place. And it's a little verbose, but it works. It lets you like get a list of all options in the GUI, in Xcode's, when you you hit dot and you can get like the list of all the endpoints. In this case, you can get the list of all the health metrics. It also lets you, because Swift is cool like this, if you make a case iterable like we did here, it means you can have one place, you can get a list of all of your metrics. So you could do things like in our model where we want to load the data, we actually start by just grabbing all the cases, iterating over all the cases of health metric. So that means if we add a new metric at the health metric, we don't have to touch the health model, because health model is just going to iterate over all the cases, and it's going to call the function that's on that enum to get the data. This is like just less things we have to mess with. So we have this one place, and sure, we have to, add a line of code to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like more than like 6, 7, 8, whatever places in this enum for each metric. But that's actually vastly simplified from our original structure, which had, an individual function for each thing. And we were trying to then take like these lower level data structures and at the UI level do things. So the thing that consumes this stuff at the UI level is the card configuration. And so we had done that last time. So we have a card configuration. The concept of each one of our cards in the UI is, has different, information you need to know about it. So that's just in this I was able to simplify I think this is simplification. We had to simplify card configuration because it turns out right now we have just 2 data types that are used to construct a card. So I was able to simplify everything down using this to just these 2. So you get the data from the health model, which just returns the observed data. So after it's loaded, we just grab the data and we say, give me, if it's a single value, give me the single health data, and if it's not, give me the multi-health data one. And up in the app view, in the app view for the Swift UI view, we were doing some, I think it was up here, we were doing some conversions somewhere with like simple data types, and we were I was able to get rid of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of it. I mean, you can look at the PR and kind of look at the more details. It's surprisingly, there's a lot of like moving parts for HealthKit, and I don't think we're doing it wrong. I think, because every time I do this, I'm like, is this the best way to do this? And I've used multiple LLMs to kind of go through it. Like in this case, one of the things I did was I said in Aider, I was like, what is a good architecture for doing a HealthKit thing? And I was like, what is it by itself? Just like, if I said, if you're going to start from scratch, what would you do? And then I asked it to compare that to what we were doing. And it was already pretty close to what the LLMs were already going to generate anyway, because there's only like so many ways to do this kind of thing. You have kind of multiple layers that you go through and you try to keep things simple. And the hard part, I think, is just disambiguating like where the things that overlap are. Like right now, that stuff is in this health metric enum, essentially, because that thing has like tendrils that kind of go both directions because, it does this conversion there. But that's okay right now, and we might be able to refactor that even more. But this is like much simpler now. It's like one place, essentially, we go. I mean, you have to add maybe a function to the health manager for specific HealthKit stuff. But then after that, converting it to work with the rest of the systems in one place. And then everything else is, and then you just, in the app view, you just, you tell it which metric you're going to use, and that will eventually be completely automated too. Because right now it's just a hard-coded list. But there's no reason. Right. There's no reason for it to be that. I mean, we have a screen that lets us turn them on and off, but it's not generating that screen. I think based on all the cases we have available.
Is that possible?
We could.
Right, because is that possible to like convert that array, almost like put it into like an app state? Oh no, app storage, and then have that be handled by the managed card view. Basically, it's like change that there and then save it, and then it is codable. Updated.
It is codable.
That actually is really really easy. That would be an easy thing for me to make that change, and then whichever. What
was that? I think I saw a little video by Uncle Bob. He does these videos on X where he does these calls them rants, but not necessarily rants. But he was talking about one of the discussions he saw on X, and he was like, yeah, you need one part of it. He just said, you need like data structures and algorithms to make a program, and if you can move complexity into data structures, this is something that my whole time in programming, my whole life, this is like, it's obvious, but maybe it's not when you haven't done it for a while. But if you can use data structures to accomplish a task, like picking the right data structures, you can make your life way easier. You know what I mean? So I'm always looking for opportunities to push complexity into data structures, and take advantage of their features, especially if they're already built in. Like another example of this from many years ago was using sets. Simple, but I needed to be able to put things into a list. I needed to be able to kind of put things into a collection, and I needed to not have duplicates. I'm like, well, you could do that with like an array, and then you have to go and deduplicate and stuff like that, and that would be kind of like applying an algorithm to a data structure problem. So.
Just a side question before we wrap up, or with next steps. But what's Uncle Bob's opinion about AI in general, or vibe coding?
I mean, I can't
opinion or strong rants, I guess.
I don't know. I can't really speak for him. I've seen some of his stuff where he touched on this stuff. I'm not sure. I think I can't speak for him, but I haven't seen him. He's not like against using tools. I don't think anybody is. And I mean, I've obviously been using these things, but I mean, they're just tools, and they're great at generating code, and they're great at refactoring. And what they help me do is make changes across the code base way faster than I otherwise could.
How much of that work in that draft PR, the final question, I don't know, vibe coding is the term, but like is generated basically?
The most of it, I guess, if you're going to go with specifically like the LLM touched the files and made the changes, like the vast majority of it. And then a few times I went in and manually typed stuff. But I didn't do a lot of typing in that case. I did more like in Aider. I asked it to do stuff and and I kind of coaxed it to output what I was looking for. And then I said, okay, do the change. And it did the change. And then occasionally I'd fix a few things that it broke or missed. But because I'm very careful and I go in small pieces and I try to keep just the context it needs in mind, and it's a lot easier to make these changes. And because we already did the work last few iterations of disentangling these layers, there was just less places that needed to change. It was more like code had to get copied from one file to another into a function, and then you had some like a couple things broke. when I made API changes, and then they were easy to fix because they were just like changing like 3 lines or something because of data structure name type change, that kind of thing. So yeah, so I mean, technically it was probably like 90% or something or more of the actual literal tokens in the Xcode. But
okay, yeah. How many?
Yeah.
Last question. How much do you feel like you spent?
Well, Aider helpfully
make to cover the cost.
Okay. This change cost me about $1.
$1. Okay.
I think it was $1. Aider has this little thing, and at the end of it, I grabbed the Git context like I talked about before, and I had it write up the PR. I also had it write documentation, which like a mermaid graph, which I had to fix. That one, it kept generating it wrong, and then I had to bring it into T3 chat and have literally. That's where I got to use GPT-5. Before we go, had GPT-5 fix the mermaid graph. And then I manually fixed it because none of these LMs can make a mermaid graph to work completely for some reason. Oh, I got it work. But that's what I used. I used, and this is more like an Aider thing, I think, because I asked Gemini to generate like the PR text, and then I copied it, and I was like, give me raw markdown, but it keeps like being rendered on the terminal, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. So I copied it into E3 chat, into GPT-5. I'm like, make this a markdown file, and it did that beautifully. So I was like, because that's what language models are good at, and then I copy and pasted that into it because I didn't want to type out all that stuff.
All right.
Nobody wants to write PR descriptions.
So just for goals for next sprint, real briefly, I intend to finish up an onboarding mechanic. And now that we have a way to sort of create a, once this is merged in, I'll start with the layout, but then once I'm going to create the 3 different types of like personality types, so to speak, and as a starting point for which then it's like lazy, mid-range, and middle of the road, and like, and then you
got to have
one.
A picture of Aaron as a superhero. That's all I care. Right? That's what we need.
I'll run that through Image Playground. How's that?
There we go. We'll use Image Playground. Use a good model.
Just the worst. I like the jankiness of that.
Okay, maybe it'll work.
Just make it so horrible. Just make it so hardly obvious.
I don't want my face on that.
It won't be your face after Image Playground gets through with it.
I know.
Won't look anything like
even if we tell it to do it in the Miyazaki style, it'll just still make it look like a horrible like rendition of like I don't know what models they're using, but they're all bad.
Yeah,
it's all bad. But anyway, that'll be my intention for the onboarding and getting the widgets to actually function properly. I was
going to say we need good widgets. Widgets came up during my refactoring because we were using widgets are getting data differently than the main UI level layer is. We have to fix that if at all possible, and that was because last time I had to do that change to fix. I think it was like async stuff or like sendable stuff or whatever last time. It was a pain in the ass. So I kind of just got it to compile.
So that'll be my job. I don't know, Aaron and Steve, what your capacity is for next.
I don't know. Sprint. I was going to go through and like figure out what else we had to do. We still have to do widgets. I was going to say we also need like a UI for actually selecting the like once besides onboarding, like a better UI than we have now to select what you're actually shown. Right now it's just a bunch of buttons, but at the very least we could get that thing to be automatically generated. And I don't know. I mean, like what else do we? And we also need like things outside the app done, like website and that kind of thing. But like, what do we need?
That's true.
What do we need in the app? I mean, it's actually working pretty well besides adding more workout types.
I added the watch kit mechanic as well. I don't know if we want to keep that in there. Like we have like a watch app extension. It kind of works actually. It's kind of there, but it's not stylized. So that's another one as like something to look into because I don't know if it brings in the data correctly or not. So
watch kit.
Yeah, for WatchKit. But yeah, I think after that, we can start to really like tighten it up and then maybe like add like a drag mechanic to like reorder the stuff.
Yeah, better UI for like selecting the cards there. And then we have the big one we have is we're not going to get that done for next time. We have to talk about monetization maybe for next time.
Yeah, for next talk.
Because and then I guess I don't know, Aaron, what do you think? Anything else that we missed here?
Because I finally got my workout stuff in, but I think they still need to be more configurable for like the date range. So I don't know if we need some UI for for like the range we want to show for those like what do we call them? Trend metrics.
I guess I don't really have I was debating on what to do about the context menu because like I put context menu in as just like a test of like how well they would work, and they're kind of funky. They kind of do work, but they don't really have a purpose aside from like an attempted
do like
reload.
A card flip over mechanic or something.
Yeah,
like flip the card over and the configurations on the back, like the old.
So I can build a UI
the old
for that.
Dashboard widgets, if you remember those.
Yes, I do.
So we got, there's a lot of stuff, but so I don't know if we're going to get all done. We have the onboarding with the 3 personality types, get widgets working, better UI for trend metrics, and a better UI for just selecting the cards, and then think about monetization.
Yep.
Or like plan monetization.
How do we want to do that? So let's leave that as a topic for next time. So that's all we have for today. You can learn about Philly Cocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you'll find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. If you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And please share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. I want to give a shout out to Shibaton. This is not a sponsorship, but this is one of these. This is a hackathon that is that's going on right now. It's about a 2-month hackathon where the goal, and it's being run by Revenue Cat. So if you know Charlie Chaplin, he is the key organizer for that event. It's a great opportunity for any iOS, Android, or any developer really to build an app. The goal is for trying to get people to participate in building their app in public. So this is partially what we're trying to do with our little side project. We are going to submit our Bento Fit. It's kind of like a motivator as well for us to submit our Bento Fit app into this to get it over the
finish line or whatever. Yeah, I already started our profile or start our submission. So apparently you can't really submit it until you're done. It wasn't clear when I started that, but there's a lot of stuff to submit with them, so I started it and we'll keep working on it as we go through this, but it's we have until September 30th to submit it. And you said, and part of the monetization thing is that we have to use Revenue Cat. Obviously, it's
yes.
Right.
That's the key requirement. But they have different categories for which you can participate in, or you can win. They have prizes. So I think I'm trying to remember. They're giving away over $300K in prizes in different categories. Grand prize winner will take home $60K in cash and get your app displayed on Times Square. You get a little trophy, and you get some recognition, and hopefully you get some money.
If our little app made it onto Times Square, I'd be like, what did everybody else do? I'm pretty sure we're not going to win, but maybe we can get like a runner-up, or maybe we'll get Best Vibes Award or something.
Well, that's a good point, right? Because we did technically vibe it to a fair bit.
It depends on what you mean by vibe coding, but
I think that's stretching the definition.
I mean, all right, let me see. Best Vibe awarded. So there's a Best Vibes award awarded to the app developer that shares the most compelling vibe coding story using one of our vibe coding app partners.
We could do the build in public award because we do this. We pod it.
That's true. That's true. There's also the design award and the peace award.
Look,
so
at least we're not on X doing like the bro thing, you know what I mean? Like we're building in public. It's like, yeah, man, I'm building this hot SaaS app or whatever, and like making $50K a week, a day, and all that.
Being poor.
Yeah. Enjoy being poor. We have 15 Studio displays coming.
I'm making $50K, but I'm also losing $50K because I spent all these tokens.
Yeah.
I'm using the wrong model.
I'm going to have to sell some crypto. We're not those people.
No, sadly not. Or maybe
no offense to those people.
No offense to those people.
They're not
next time.
This, so it's fine.
Till next time. Good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always.
Definitely not AI generated.